What is up, fight fans? This is DJC Combat, and in today's video, I want to make a card builder, and particularly for this upcoming event in Madison Square Garden, UFC 309, where right now there are no official bouts booked, so I want to get this over with before the UFC starts making announcements. Now, just as a disclaimer, okay, these are just predictions. These are just my hypothetical ideas. A good majority of these fights that I suggest probably aren't even going to happen or take place on this card. But these are just some ideas I have. I mean, the last time I did a video like this was for UFC 282 on my old channel, and it didn't come true. Like, only one fight ended up happening on that card, which was Jan versus Ankalaev. The rest didn't happen or happened on different dates or just didn't happen at all. And I also suggested Bones Miocic to happen at 282, which might take place on MSG instead, which I'm going to get into. So let's get started, shall we? All right. So I want to make this a super card because it's Madison Square Garden. It's a John Jones card, most likely. And not all MSG pay-per-views are stacked, but most of them are good cards. Most of them are stacked. UFC 205 was stacked. UFC 217, UFC 244 were stacked cards. UFC 230 was kind of stacked. So I want to make this one of those good MSG cards that fans are going to remember and be talking about for decades to come. I almost want to make it like UFC 300 levels of legendary. Not quite, but almost close to how UFC 300 was. So I'm going to start from the early prelims all the way to the main card. So to kick off this pay-per-view, so I did some research through Tapology, through all the divisions to see who I can match up with who, outside of some of the big names I'm going to include because I don't want to look like a casual. I think David Onama versus Charles Jourdain sounds like a pretty banger matchup. That would be a good fight to kick off this card in MSG. I think they both match well with each other. David Onama, really good striker. He's got some power. Charles Jourdain also has power. He's very tough. And this does have fight of the night potential. And then to follow that, I think this pay-per-view should be where proper Mike Malott returns. And as I was looking through the welterweight division on Tapology, I thought Philip Rowe would be a potential good matchup for Mike Malott. Both of them have lost to Neil Magny. I'm not sure if Malott would win this fight, but it's a good fight to kind of get him back in the win column. And this is another fight where I think it would actually be a fun fight to watch for the fans. I could just see this being exciting for some reason. I mean, who knows? It could be boring, but Phil Rowe is a pretty good striker, and so is Mike Malott, and Mike Malott has some power as well. This is a fight that could potentially end in a finish. So I'd say do Mike Malott versus Phil Rowe. And then to top off the Fight Pass prelims, I think it should be a women's MMA fight, Yan Xiaonan versus Verna Jandiroba. Now, later on in this video, I'll get into the reason why I think this fight should be on this card. But I think before Verna fights for the belt, I think she should take one more fight, take on the number 2 strawweight in the world in Yan Xiaonan, who just previously fought for the title. I think it's a good matchup for Verna because Yan Xiaonan has shown she doesn't do too well against good wrestlers, and she could go out there, beat a former title challenger, steal that number 2 ranking, and solidify her spot as the number 1 contender in the division. This could headline a fight night in the Apex, but I think the fans, we've seen enough of WMMA fights headlining Apex events. I think it's time we get a break from that and have a fight of this magnitude just be on the early prelims. But I'm going to get back to this topic later on in the video as to why I have it on this card. But now to kick off the second prelims, a matchup I was thinking about. Originally, I was thinking Joel Alvarez versus Matt Frevola, but Matt Frevola is booked up for UFC Paris. So instead, how about this? Joel Alvarez versus Jalen Turner. This would be a crazy fight. You got two of the tallest lightweights in the division. Jalen Turner, 6'3", Joel Alvarez, 6'2", both really dangerous strikers. And if Joel Alvarez could win this fight, he could get a spot in the rankings. But this could also be a good opportunity for Jalen Turner to get back in the win column. I think this style of matchup would be better for a guy like Jalen because Yoel Alvarez isn't a big threat in the grappling like Renato Moicano was. This fight would be primarily contested on the feet. This is a fight where most likely someone would get knocked out, but ultimately Jalen wouldn't have to worry about the takedown, so he'd have a good chance to win and bounce back, but at the same time, this is a big opportunity for Yoel, and I think fans will be stoked for a fight like this to kick off the early prelims. And the second fight, not the early prelims, I mean the main prelims, sorry, the ESPN prelims. Now, the second fight on the ESPN prelims, I think this should be the first time in Bo Nickal's UFC career where he's on the prelims. I know Bo Nickal on every pay-per-view hogs up a pay-per-view spot because the UFC, they're trying to cater to the wrestling fan base and they're really trying to push Bo Nickal as a superstar. But because of the plans I have for this main card, I don't think there would be any room for Bo Nickal to be on the main card, and it wouldn't be fair to have the names I'm putting on this main card to be on the prelims. So sorry, Bo. I think this time you're going to have to take a back seat and just suck it up, settle for prelims. And I think the opponent who Bo should take on, I think Bo should take on a ranked middleweight for once. And I was thinking Roman Dolidze. I think this will be a good test for Bo Nickal because Roman Dolidze, he's got experience. And I think he might potentially be able to test Bo Nickal in the grappling department. He's good on the ground. He scrambles well. He's got good submission skills. So if Bo Nickal could go out there and take out a ranked name in Roman Dolidze, that would further push Bo Nickal to superstardom, and this would open up a lot more big opportunities in the middleweight division for Bo Nickal if he could beat a guy like Roman Dolidze, because he'll be number 10 in the rankings and he can end up, fighting someone in the top 7, top 5, which could further up his chances in being in title contention. And after this, he can go back to hogging up main card spots on pay-per-view, but for right now, just settle for prelims, bro, please. But of course, if he's on this card, he's going to be on the main card. But whatever. And then after this, I think the next matchup on the prelims should be Erin Blanchfield versus Thug Rose Namajunas. Both women have verbally agreed to this matchup. Both women, they want to fight on Madison Square Garden, so put this on this pay-per-view. This is a main card worthy fight, but again, with the plans I have for the main card, there's no room for these ladies, so prelims it is for them. But I think having this fight on the prelims would make the prelims huge, and it would make the prelims gain a lot of views, a lot of attention. A lot of people will be tuning into the prelims to see Rose Namajunas and Erin Blanchfield fight. So why not make it happen? UFC 300, the prelims were also exciting because they also had a lot of, former champs on the prelims. This is also why I said I want this card to be close to UFC 300 level. But yeah, Erin, Rose, MSG. Rose has fought in MSG before, and I think it's a good matchup too in the women's flyweight division. And then to headline the prelims, Brandon Moreno versus Amir Albazi. This is another fight that could be on the main card, but you'll see why I have this on the prelims soon. But Brandon Moreno said that he wanted to come back at UFC 309 in MSG. Amir Albazi and Brandon Moreno were supposed to fight before, so why not reschedule that fight now? I don't think Amir Albazi has earned himself a title shot just yet with that win over Kai Kara France. I feel like he needs one more breakthrough win, And if he can beat a guy like Moreno, then he can get a title shot. But if Moreno wins, he maintains his spot in like the top 2, top 3 of the division. And I think having Brandon Moreno and Rose on the prelims would get a lot of fans excited. I think this would be a huge part of the MSG card, and I think this would make for a successful preliminary card. Brandon Moreno versus Amir Albazi, Aaron Blanchfield versus Rose Namajunas on the prelims. Imagine that. Now, moving on to the main card, the pay-per-view. The fight that I want to have kick off this main card. So I think Justin Gaethje is going to fight on MSG. I think Gaethje and Rose should share a card together. They've done it twice before. Let's do it again. And the fight, the opponent I want to see for Justin Gaethje is Charles Oliveira, the rematch. These two are coming off losses on the same card at UFC 300. I think it's the perfect matchup to make. It's a chance for Justin Gaethje to avenge the loss to Charles Oliveira and, you know, boost himself up the rankings and maybe put himself back in the title picture, or a chance for Do Bronx to get a win over a guy he's already beat before. And plus, the first fight was chaos, absolutely insane. That was the craziest one-round fight we've ever seen. Imagine having this rematch kick off the pay-per-view. A lot of fans will be tuning in early for this. And then after that, I think another fighter as part of that Rose Gaethje team under Trevor Whitman, even though Rose left Whitman, she's still friends with Gaethje and this guy I'm about to mention, Kamaru Usman. I think he should be part of this card. I think this pay-per-view on MSG should include Usman, Gaethje, and Rose Namajunas. And the opponent for Kamaru Usman should be Jack Della Maddalena, because Kamaru Usman, he did mention some potential comeback fights for himself, and the 3 names he mentioned were Ian Gary, JDM, or Rakhmonov. But I think Rakhmonov is going to get a title shot, so I think they should do Usman versus Della Maddalena. And also, I don't think Ian Gary will be fighting Usman. I feel like they're going to do Ian Gary versus Leon Edwards. I think that's the fight to make. So with that being said, Usman versus JDM as the second fight on this pay-per-view. And this should be a title eliminator. Winner of this fight gets a shot at the belt. And this is a dangerous matchup for Usman, but at the same time, it could also be a very winnable fight because JDM, he was getting taken down a lot and controlled by Gilbert Burns. And if Burns can out-wrestle you, imagine Kamaru Usman. But Usman is better than Burns, so I think Usman would be a huge test for a guy like Jack Della Maddalena. Not saying Jack can't win this fight, but either way, I think this is the fight to make. I think it's a fight a lot of fans would be excited about. And again, imagine having the big 3 under Trevor Whitman on the same card. That would just be exciting. But yeah, I think MSG should be the comeback pay-per-view for Usman, and it should be him and JDM. Now, as the feature fight, I think this should be the first of 3 title fights. The women's strawweight title on the line. This has happened on MSG before, twice. Joanna has fought on MSG as part of a trio of title fights. Let's have that be Zhang now. And I think the opponent, you know who it's going to be, Tatiana Suarez. I think Tatiana Suarez against Zhang Weili should happen on MSG, UFC 309. And now I'm going to explain why I have Verna versus Xiaonan on this card. Verna versus Xiaonan should be on this card because I think Verna Jandiroba should also be the backup fighter just in case something happens to either Weili or Tatiana. And of course, Suarez is known to be a little bit injury prone or very injury prone. So in case anything happens to Tatiana, then Verna can slide right in and fight Zhang Weili. Or if something were to happen to Zhang, Verna could slide right in and fight Tatiana for the interim belt, and then problem solved. And plus, I always think it's a good idea to have title eliminator and title fight on the same card, so then both future matchups could kind of move forward on the same schedule, you know? So if Verna wins on the same night as Weili and Tatiana, then she could fight the winner in like the next few months. Or if Yan Xiaonan wins, same thing. But yeah, Weili, Tatiana Suarez, feature fight, first of 3 title fights. And then the co-main event should be Belal Muhammad versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. Belal originally had plans to defend his belt against Shavkat at UFC 308, but that's being headlined by Max Holloway and Ilia Topuria. And Belal said that he would not be ready to fight in October, but there's a good chance he might be able to fight in MSG in November. He's fought in Madison Square Garden before, but the last time he fought in MSG, it was against Luque, and it did not end well. So this is a chance for Belal to right that wrong, defend his belt against Shavkat Rakhmonov, the guy that everyone's talking about, the boogeyman of the division. I think this will be a huge co-main event. I think a lot of people will be talking about this matchup. A lot of people would be excited for this fight. You know, Belal Muhammad, he may not be known to be the most exciting fighter, but Shavkat Rakhmonov, he will bring the best out of Belal Muhammad, and he will make this fight an exciting matchup. And plus, Belal Muhammad, crazy win streak. He just beat Leon Edwards. Shavkat Rakhmonov is undefeated. So there will be a lot of hype surrounding this matchup. And I think it should be on MSG as the second title fight. And the third and final title fight, you know what it is. Jon Bones Jones versus Stipe Miocic. I already think that's the direction the UFC are heading in anyway, but this is a fight that was already supposed to take place in this exact same state, New York, in this exact same venue of MSG, but of course Jon Jones got injured. Stipe didn't take a replacement opponent, and he opted to wait for Jon Jones, which is smart because Stipe Miocic, he's old, he's at the tail end of his career, and I think he's earned that shot to fight a guy like Jon Jones before it's all said and done. It's better than him just risking it against one of these, you know, young killers like Pavlovich or Aspinall. But I think this is a good fight to top off this wild card, this wild undercard that I have. Imagine Jones versus Stipe, plus this entire main card and prelims I created. That would just be wild. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about this card I made. Are there any changes that you guys would make? Like, what fights would you guys like to see at UFC 309? Hit that like and subscribe button, and thank you for watching.